The last week or so of protests in Turkey have been sparked by plans to redevelop Gezi Park in Istanbul. The people who occupied that part of the capital said they would be losing one of the few remaining green spaces in the city. But the uprisings that have followed are much more to do with anti-government sentiment than the park. Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan leads the Islamist-rooted AK party, and he's won the last 3 elections with an increasing share of the vote each time. He's also presided over some of the fastest economic growth in Europe. So why all the protests against him? Well, first of all, there's the redevelopment of Istanbul. Only 1.5% of the city is designated as a public park, so people are understandably angry about losing Gezi Park and the adjacent Taksim Square. The plan is to raise the park and rebuild a 19th century Ottoman barracks filled with a shopping centre or museum and luxury flats. Taksim Square, which is a historically significant place for protest in Istanbul, would be pedestrianised and see a mosque erected. Erdogan's also planning to build the world's biggest airport, a 3rd bridge across the Bosphorus River at a cost of $3 billion, and a shipping canal that would turn half the city into an island, and that would cost $10 billion. The building of a mosque in Taksim Square is seen as one of many moves by Erdogan against the secular constitution of the country. In the past few months, he sought to limit the sale of alcohol and acknowledged that the law would be based on Islamic teachings. There have been 2 high-profile blasphemy cases recently where a famous pianist and a writer were given jail time for comments that they made on Twitter. There have also been moves towards banning abortion, and Erdogan's spoken openly about creating a more religious generation. The protesters say that many of these laws infringe on their private lives and prevent them from living freely. Erdogan's critics claim that he's becoming more and more autocratic as he tries to put his own stamp on the Turkish constitution. He's been accused of muzzling the media and refusing to allow a free press. Since these protests started and while the rest of the world watches on, Turkish TV has been accused of broadcasting cookery shows and beauty contests instead. In Turkey, there's a limit of 3 terms for the Prime Minister, and Erdogan would have to step down in 2015. So he's been campaigning to become president and to change the role of the presidency to allow him to have executive powers rather than just a ceremonial role. Despite Erdogan blaming extremist elements and the opposition Republican People's Party for stoking things up, the protesters don't appear to come from any one side of the political spectrum. There are nationalists, left-wingers, environmentalists and more, and they're united against Erdogan. But despite the huge number of demonstrations in more than half the states across the country, Erdogan is reportedly still the most popular politician, partly because of the lack of coherent opposition. Erdogan has rejected the idea that he's becoming a dictator. He recently said, "I am not the master of the people. Dictatorship does not run in my blood or my character." Anyway, if you want to find out more about the actual events that are going on in Turkey right now, Phil's explanation is over there. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There's a button up here somewhere, and check out more of the content that we produce. You'll find that in our feed.